Now, in the suttas, the Buddha said, a good man's gift, when you give with confidence, with faith, or confidence, and then you give with respect. That means you don't look down on the receiver. And then you give also, a good man's gift is timely. What is needed at the right time, you give. And then another quality of a good man's gift is not to have remorse. There are some people, they are generous, and then later they have a stingy mind. They think, oh, why did I give so much? Then they are remorseful. And that is not good, because every action has a reaction. There's one story in the actually it's a true story about a man in a long past. He was a very stingy person, and his wife was the opposite. The wife always liked to give alms to monks who passed by the house. So the husband didn't like very much the wife giving away the good food. But one day he was in a very good mood. He told the wife to do some charity to some monk. So the wife was overjoyed that the husband today was in a very good mood, telling her to give to the monks. So she prepared some good food to donate to whatever monk that came by. So it happened that a Pacheka Buddha came by. A Pacheka Buddha is an enlightened being who does not teach the Dhamma. So he came by to this house, and the wife, after cooking some very good food, gave it to this Pacheka Buddha. So when the Pacheka Buddha left the house, the husband came back from supervising some work. So he came back, he saw this monk leaving his house. He was curious what the wife gave this monk. So he asked the monk to stop. Then the monk stopped. He opened the monk's bowl to see what was inside. Then he saw the lovely food, then he closed the bowl. He went back to the house, mumbling to himself, if I had given this good food to my workers, they could have worked more for me. So he had this regret, but so after he died, because he did something wrong also that life. His brother was a very rich man. The brother had only one son, and then the brother died suddenly. So when he died suddenly, the property should go to the son. But the son was too young. So the son was looked after by this man. And because of his greed for the property, one day he killed the son to get the property. So because of killing the nephew, after he died, he went to hell for a long time. Then later he came back in the human realm. He became the richest man in the whole of Savatthi, that big town Savatthi, the richest man, But because of killing his nephew, the only son, actually he was born 7 times as the richest man in Savatthi, but every time he was reborn as the richest man in Savatthi, he had no son, no child. He was barren because of killing the nephew. But because of contributing to the giving of alms to a Pacheka Buddha, the merit was so great, he was the richest man in the whole of Savatthi. And then the result of having remorse at giving such good food was that he was not happy, yes or not? He was not happy when the wife gave such good food. So when he was a rich man also, he didn't know how to be happy, in the sense that he had so much money, but he used the oldest horse carriage, His horse carriage was like a repaired horse carriage. The clothes he used were all very old one. And the food he ate also was not good food, If his servant wanted to throw away yesterday's food, he would scold the servant, He said, this is why you waste my money and all these things. So he was such a kadukut, in Penang they say kadukut, very stingy, kiam siap, to the extent that he didn't know how to enjoy his wealth. So that's the consequence of having remorse. So the Buddha said, before we do charity, the thought of wanting to do charity, you should be very happy. Then when you are doing charity also, you should be very happy. And after doing the charity, when you think about it, you should again be very happy. So next time when you become rich, then you can know how to enjoy your... The other thing, the Buddha said, a good man's charity does not hurt himself or hurt others. In other words, for example, if you want to cook chicken curry for a monk, don't go and order a live chicken to be slaughtered. It's okay if you go and buy the cold meat. You must not slaughter the chicken yourself also. Also, you must not harm yourself in the sense that if you can't afford it, don't give too much to the extent of depriving yourself or your family. Actually, this teaching contradicts the Jataka story, where it is said that the Buddha in his previous life, as a bodhisattva supposed to be, offered his own body to feed the tiger. That kind of a story doesn't make sense. It's just a story made up by people. It's not found in the suttas. A lot of these Jataka stories are grandmother's tales. Of course, with a moral behind it, a good moral to teach people. But actually, it's all made up. Even the Pesantara Jataka, where the Buddha in his past life was supposed to have given away the wife and the children to a poor beggar, that also is illogical. How can a person give away the wife and children to a poor beggar to torture? Doesn't make sense at all. That's why a lot of things in Buddhism, because Buddhism is now 2,500 years old, it is so... somebody gave a very brilliant simile. They said like a river, a river flowing like a Klang river. From the hills, it flows down to the Port Klang. When you go to Port Klang, how do you find the water? Very dirty and muddy with the dead carcass and all that, isn't it? If you want to find the pure, clear water, you must go upstream, go to the source of the water, where the water comes up from the hill. That is the pure water. So in the same way, now our Buddhism is very polluted with a lot of wrong teachings and a lot of rojak inside. So we want to find the original teachings. We must go back to the earliest discourses of the Buddha like this. Then you find there's a lot of contradiction in Buddhism. So you must use your wisdom to see what is the correct teaching of the Buddha. The other thing the Buddha said about a good person's charity is that if you give yourself personally, because if you give yourself personally, you do the offering personally, then when you think about it later, you reflect how you offered the thing personally, gives you a lot of joy. Another thing is a good person's gift is you offer good things, not something like you want to throw away already. People who don't know are ignorant. Sometimes they give things that they want to throw away to a monk. Last time, many years ago, when I came back from Thailand, 1987, I went to look for a cave to stay. So I came around Ipoh. Then I found a cave in Simpang Polai, behind Simpang Polai village. Stayed in a dark cave, So I went to Simpang Polai, the marketplace, to Pindabat. Pindabat is going arms round, begging for food. So these people had never seen a monk beg for food, They stared at me as though orang asli came out. And then I had to go and walk to the stalls there, I walked to the stalls there, so they didn't know how to offer. I had to stand in front of the stall. Then the stall was selling kueh. Then one of the customers told the lady, I said, hey, already kokoi, pay the kokoi. Then she didn't know how to give, And then after that, I walked to the next stall and they gave me some kokoi. Then the third stall gave me some kokoi. Then I walked back to the cave. I walked past the meat stall, they didn't know how to give. They thought a monk must be vegetarian. Walked past nasi lemak, also never gave. So, second day I came, also I had to stand in front of the stall, then only she give, Then I also got kokoi to eat for the second day. Third day I thought I'm not going to stand. I walk slowly. So I walked slowly past the stall. Luckily, she came forward with the kokoi. Third day also I ate kokoi. Fourth day also kokoi. Fifth day also kokoi. For 10 days I had to eat kokoi, you know. Then after 10 days, they came to visit me, you know. They were saying, oh, yo, sim wo xiong I got santong. So I think some of them were very curious, came to see me and talk to me. And then I told them, I say, we Theravada monk, we are not vegetarians like Mahayana monks, you know, we bake our food. Then the next day, 11th day, I got nasi lemak. So after that, I managed to get some rice. Then one day, I walked past one of the houses. They saw me, they came running, you know. So gave me some bread. So I accepted the bread. I went back to the cave and I opened up my bowl. See, the bread already got mold on it. So this is, can't blame them because they don't know anything about dana. The other thing is about dana is that the Buddha said when we give, we must not have a selfish aim. Some people we don't understand. When we give, we make a wish. We want this and we want that. When you have this kind of wish, then it becomes a bit selfish, and your merit won't be so great. The Buddha said we must give understanding that you are performing good karma, that there will be a vipaka. You don't have to make a wish. The result will come very naturally. So if you don't make a wish, then your blessings will even be greater. Your merit is even greater. Now one day the Buddha, in one sutta, the Buddha went to a lay person's house for food. So that lay person offered food to the Buddha. And during the Buddha's time, after the Buddha or his monks received the food, they give a short Dhamma teaching. They don't do chanting. They give a short Dhamma teaching, then they leave. So in this case, the Buddha, after having received food from this lady, Supya or something, then the Buddha spoke to her, and the Buddha said, when you give food to a monk, actually you give 4 things. And these 4 things is Ayu, Vano, Sukang, Balang. Ayu is long life. So the Buddha said, when you give food to a monk, the monk has a longer lifespan. When the monk gets to eat good food, he lives longer. So as a result, you will also get long life, either this life or future. And the second one is Vano. Vano is beauty. You give to monk, then good food, then the monk's body also becomes more beautiful. Then you will get beauty in return. Then the third one is Sukang. Sukang is happiness. And when a monk gets to eat good food, he's happy. You will also receive happiness in future. The fourth one is Balang. Balang is strength. When a monk gets to eat good food, he gets strength. And so you will also get strength in return. So these are the 4 things you receive when you give food to a monk. Ayuvano, Sukang, Balang. Long life, beauty, happiness and strength. Now in one sutta, the Buddha said, when you do charity, the amount of blessings you get partly depends on the person who does the charity and the person who receives the charity. If both are upright persons, then the merit will be the highest. If the person who receives is virtuous, but the person who gives is not virtuous, then your merit depends on the receiver. And sometimes you give to that person is not a virtuous person. For example, you give to a drug addict. The person who receives is not virtuous, but you are virtuous. So your merit is from you, from your heart, because you give. So if both the receiver and the giver is virtuous, then the merit is highest. And then the Buddha also said, if the receiver is one who is walking the path to cutting off greed, hatred and delusion. He's a cultivator who is practicing to cut off greed, hatred and delusion, and then your merit will be very great. Now in one sutta, the Buddha said that in previous life he was a very rich Brahmin, and he did a lot of charity. He gave 84,000 buckets of gold, 84,000 buckets of silver, 84,000 buckets of precious stones, a lot of cloth, a lot of animals, a lot of slaves, a lot of food, a lot of drinks, etc. I said the food and drinks he gave flowed like the river. But he said in spite of doing so much charity, his merit was very little. Why? He said because the people who receive, not a single one of them had right view. That means not a single one of them was an Arya. Not a single one understood the Dhamma. If a person does not understand the Dhamma, then he's like a drug addict, He does more evil than good. Only when we understand the Dhamma, then we do more good than evil. So because of that, he said his merit was very little. So he said, if he had given to one person with right view, that means a Sotapanna, it would have been more, the merit would have been more than giving to so many thousands of people. Now in another sutta, Dakina Vibhanga Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha said, if you make an offering to an animal, even making an offering to an animal, the result is expected that you will receive the result 100 times what you gave to the animal. It will be multiplied 100 times. And you give a gift to an ordinary person, Putujana, not an Arya, and that person is immoral person, does not have any precepts. Even then, because he's a human being, the result of that giving is 1,000 times what you gave. 1,000 times. And then if you give to an ordinary person who is virtuous, who keeps the precepts, it is expected that your offering will be returned. That means the result you get is 100,000 times what you gave. And then the fourth one, if you make an offering to an external ascetic who is free from lust. Free from lust means a person who has attained jhana, chanting, one-pointedness of mind, so that he has no sensual desire, no anger. Then it is expected that your gift will be returned 100,000 times, 100,000 times. That means 10 to the power of 10. And then if you make the fifth one, if you make an offering to an Arya, either a first path attainer or second path, third path, fourth path attainer, or first fruit, second fruit, third fruit, fourth fruit, Arya, your merit is incalculable, the Buddha said. Still, the Buddha said, if you give to a Sangha means monks in general, and even if the monks are immoral, they don't keep the precepts, but because you give to the Sangha, like to a monastery, the merit is greater than giving to any individual person, even including the Buddha. Because when you give to the Sangha, you are giving to the present monks as well as the future monks. And also because if you support the Sangha, then the Sangha of monks will continue, it will not be broken. Monks will continue to ordain, and monks will continue to be around. As long as monks are around, the Dhamma will be around, the teaching will be there. Also because even if the present monks are corrupt, immoral, but because the Sangha continues, Sangha of monks continues, in the future you may still find Arya and Arahants. That's why there's no greater giving than giving to a Sangha of monks. For example, giving to a monastery or support a monastery. Now the Buddha said, it is the duty of Buddhist lay persons to support the Sangha of monks and nuns with the basic, at least with the basic requisites, food and clothing and medicinal support and a place to stay. During the Buddha's time, he had a few lay disciples who were anagamis, attained the third fruit of Aryahood. And there was one by the name of Hataka. And after he died, he was reborn in heaven. After he was born in this high level of heaven, he came back to see the Buddha. Then the Buddha asked him, Hataka, how is life in the heavens? Then he said, Bhagawa. They used to call the Buddha Bhagawa. He said, Bhagawa, there's not much difference between heaven and life on earth. But he said, in the heavens, these devas always come and ask me to teach them the Dhamma. Because he was very well versed in the Dhamma, in the suttas, so he had to teach them. But then he told the Buddha, there were a few things he regret now that he has died, passed away from the human realm. The first one, he said, he doesn't get to see the Buddha so often. The Buddha was a person with great compassion and wisdom, so that his disciples not only had great respect for him, they also had great love for him, because they are so compassionate. The second one, he said, he regretted his regret was he was not able to serve the Sangha now, because he is now a heavenly being. He is not able to serve the Sangha as a human being. So this as a lay person, you all should remember this, because now you have the opportunity to serve the Sangha of monks. You use the opportunity, because when you are about to pass away, then you remember, now I have no more chance to serve the Sangha. Now, the other thing the Buddha said, when we do good, we get blessings or merit. Now, if we encourage other people to do good also, we will also get the merit. For example, some of you are good enough to ask your friends or your relations to come and hear the Dhamma talk. So you get merit for coming to listening to the Dhamma talk, and in addition, because you ask your friends to come, you get more merit. So the second one is encouraging others to do good. The third one is you approve of doing good. You approve of other people doing good, you also get more merit. Then the fourth one, if you praise the doing of good, praise the doing of charity or keeping Sila, you also get more merit. Now, the other thing is, in one sutta, there was one old man. He came to see the Buddha, Nakula Pita. Then he told the Buddha, he said, Bhagawa, now I'm very old. And my wife, he said, they have so much love for each other. He said, from ever since they were married when they were very young. He said, up to now, he said, they are so close to each other. They never have ever got angry with each other. Not only they have not spoken a word of anger towards each other. He said they have never even have a thought of anger against each other. They are so loving. So he asked the Buddha, he said, we would like to meet again in the future. So he asked the Buddha, is it possible for us to meet again in the future? Then the Buddha said, there are 4 conditions. If you have 4 conditions similar, you will meet again in the future. The first one is you have the same faith. So like you are a Buddhist, then it is good if you want your children to meet you again in the next rebirth. Teach them to become Buddhist or understand some Dhamma. Same faith. The second one, same virtue. If you practice good Sila, then whoever you want to meet in your next lifetime, you also encourage the person to have the same Sila. So the people who are moral, they will be reborn together. Those people who are immoral also reborn together. Whether you practice Sila or you don't practice Sila, as long as the same, you'll be reborn together. Third one is generosity. People who are equally generous will be reborn together. People who are equally selfish also get reborn together. Third one is generosity. The fourth one is wisdom. People who are equally intelligent will get born together. People who are equally stupid also get born together. So remember these four things are the same: faith, virtue, generosity, and wisdom. Then the last thing I want to talk about is transference of merit. In one sutta, one discourse, there was a Brahmin who came to see the Buddha. And it was the Brahmin's practice that when their relatives die, that they make offerings of food, and then they will burn this food, not like our Chinese. Chinese Qing Ming, you go and offer all the lovely food, but quickly you take back to the house and voila. The Indians, they will burn everything. So he asked the Buddha, he said, will my relatives actually get all this food that I burn? Then the Buddha said, it depends on where they are reborn. If they are reborn in heaven, they won't get it. Anyway, they won't need it also, right? If they are reborn as humans, also won't get it. Reborn as animal, also won't get. Reborn in hell, also won't get. Only if reborn in the ghost realm, they can get. And then the Buddha didn't explain why. And then he asked the Buddha, he said, what happens if my relative is not born in the ghost realm? Then the Buddha said, if this relative is not born in the ghost realm, it is highly likely that you have other relatives who are in the ghost realm waiting for you to make this offering, and they will get it, your other relatives in the ghost realm. Then the Buddha said, even if you have no relatives at all in the ghost realm, because you make this offering, you get the merit, at least you will get it. Now why is it the Buddha said only ghosts can get? Although the Buddha did not explain why, I think it is because ghosts are the only people who are reborn that can come back. Because for example, if your close relative has passed away and is born as a ghost, that ghost will be hungry, difficult to cari makan, not enough blessings, maybe no clothes to wear, also cold and shivering. So you go here, go there, cannot get food, then he will think, who can help me? Then he will think, my son, my daughter, surely at least they'll think of me, so they'll come home waiting for you to do some good deed for them. That's why the Buddha said, whenever we do any good deed, we listen to a Dhamma talk, we keep our Sila, we practice meditation, we do charity and all that, then every night when we go to sleep, it's good to share the merit with all beings. And the Buddha said, especially the spirit family that lives in our house. The Buddha said, every house normally has a spirit family, just like trees. They have tree spirits. So house also has got this house spirit. So when we share the merit with them, they are very happy with us, and they protect us, protect the house. So not only the house spirit, also the Dato Kong, all around, the tree spirits, all the beings around, we share the merit with them. And then they see that you think of them, they also think of you, they also protect you. So I think I'll end the talk here, and then I invite any questions or any comments. Actually, most people, or almost all people, we have good and bad karma. So this good and bad karma, they do not cancel each other. It's like separate accounts. Separate accounts. So we have to deal with every account. So sometimes a person, because of being charitable, that person may be reborn into a rich family and be rich. But say, for example, if that person had done killing karma in the past life, then that person would have a short life. Might be a happy life, but a short life. So in that respect, most of us are like that. We have good and bad karma. For example, the other day somebody was mentioning about some pretty lady who was had a very unhappy married life. So somebody asked me, if that person is reborn pretty, that means she must have some good karma, correct? She has some good karma to make her pretty. But because of some bad karma, she's not happy. At least in that way it's a bit fair, so that people are not so pretty, at least also have some good life. So it's a mixed karma. But it's not for sure you're not pretty, it means you have a good life. Some people not pretty also don't have a good life. So it's all depends on our karma.